Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Mav, and this is Mav Magic. On this channel, I like to talk a little bit about whatever I want. I talk about my transition, talk about spirituality or the lack of spirituality, mental health, a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, definitely go ahead and give me a follow. Check me on my other platforms as well. So I'm pretty sure that I've been on T for about 2.5 years now, maybe almost 3 years. I feel like it's hard to keep track of things, but it's been a while since about, I think, 2020 or 2021. Like I said, the dates are all mixed up now. But yeah, that's been pretty great. I've definitely just gotten way more secure in my identity as a trans person over the past couple of years. And things feel so different than they used to feel. It's definitely less exciting, because changes and stuff aren't happening as frequently. Since top surgery is now in the past, there's not as much like planning for stuff and waiting for specific changes and things like that. So I just really don't think about my transition that much anymore. Obviously, when it comes to shot day and things like that, I'm thinking about it a little bit more, but that's pretty much it. I just kind of feel like this is my life now, and I'm just a regular person, and I've kind of found where I like to be in terms of the way that I present to the world. I feel pretty comfortable in the way that I look and things like that, which is something that I never really would have thought that I would have said. In so many ways, I'm just way more comfortable with my body. Even, for example, like I'm a plus size person, and I think I was definitely more insecure about that pre transition, but now that I'm just more comfortable in my body overall, I don't care as much. Like, fitness is kind of sometimes important to me, and I try to, do some active stuff or whatever just for my health and sanity. But yeah, it's definitely, I feel like I have a much healthier relationship with my body overall. I also have a couple of specific questions that I've been asked by some followers, so I'm going to read some of those and answer some of them as they come up as I talk about myself and about my transition. The first comment is from Mirrors and Monoxide, and it says, first off, thanks for sharing. Are there unexpected, cool things you've noticed or experienced, whether or not transition related? Some of the pretty cool things that I've experienced since transition are that I just feel more aligned with myself. That's like not super surprising. I kind of expected that. But as I've transitioned, really surprising things has been my acceptance of my facial hair. It's shaved pretty low right now, but it's there and it's around, and I keep it around at this length. It's pretty hard to see. I do have some patches of it like under here that don't grow as thick, which is kind of annoying in terms of how it looks when it grows in. Like these sections grow really thick and the rest of it doesn't. That's annoying. But I really thought that I was gonna get electrolysis, like laser hair removal, but I'm actually way more comfortable with my facial hair than I really ever anticipated. So that was a pretty big surprise, to be honest. It's also kind of really nice that I just feel more connected to my body. I know that I said that already, but I just like to mention it as many times as possible because it's really important to me. The next question is from Brim2768, and I'm going to read just a part of their question. So they say, we know what it's like out here for black men, but how do you feel moving through the world as a more masculinized person? What is your level of safety day to day? If that's not too personal, it's not. Completely understand if it is, but I'm afraid of what might happen to me out in these streets, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I definitely resonate with this. For me, the whole idea of walking through the world as a black man or someone who looks like a black man was pretty anxiety provoking in some ways. I definitely noticed myself thinking about the things that I heard my dad say to my brothers growing up. Things like, when they go into certain stores, like taking their hoods down, trying to appear less threatening. I definitely think that I do those things. In like on a personal body level, I don't really experience a lot, like a massive lack of safety. I used to live in an area that was like didn't really have a lot of diversity, was primarily white, pretty right leaning area. And I felt a little bit more uncomfortable there, just cognitively more uncomfortable. I live in a little bit more of a just city area, so I feel a little bit more just neutral here. A lot of this has been mostly mental for me. I really haven't experienced a difference in the way people treat me in any way. I know a lot of people will say, well, now that I've transitioned, this is my experience or these are my experiences. And I don't really think I notice a difference in terms of how people treat me. That might change in the future or whatever. One thing that is actually really interesting is engaging with people as a person who has the appearance that I do. I tend to confuse people. A lot of people will ask about my gender and things like that. Just to give a little bit more context, not like while I'm walking down the street, like when I'm kind of having conversations on the internet or doing live streams or whatever, people will ask. So, and then sometimes, for example, people will make more judgments about the feminine things that I do if they perceive me as masculine. So I remember like I would get tons of comments about things like if I wore like a choker, had my nails painted or things like that, like guys out here now wearing chokers and doing all this feminine stuff, which I just thought was kind of funny. I had someone ask me one time, you know, what about my gender or why it mattered. And he said, because if you're a man, the fact that you have your nails painted is like really concerning, which I just thought was funny and probably says more about the world around us rather than me as a person. So I hope that that answers some of your question at least. I think this is a massive, pretty complex topic that I'm still wrapping my head around, so I appreciate you asking. And I'm curious to know any of your guys' thoughts and experiences. What is it like for you to transition as a black woman or black person into more someone who may be more a black masculine person or a black man, more masculine presenting, and black or another person of color, what that experience has been like for you. I'm really curious about that. Last person to ask me like a bunch of questions, which is pretty exciting. This person is LoveLow2053. They basically ask, I hope that some of these things aren't too triggering, just answer what you like. So the first is, do you have any unpopular trans or non-binary opinions? I think that the thing that comes to mind most upfront is the idea that gender is purely a social construct. I don't think makes actual sense. I think that a lot of people will say it's purely made up, it's all a social construct, and I disagree with that because I think when we actually look at it, like gender does definitely have some biological aspects to it because even like sexed behavior in mammals tends to have something to do with brain structure. So definitely there are a lot of aspects of gender that are socially constructed, but some that are definitely biological. For me, that's affirming because it just tells me that I can't help the fact that I'm trans. My brain tells me that I'm trans, right? It's not that I necessarily have a male brain or a female brain or like a trans brain or something like that, but there is something about my biology that makes me this way, right? I definitely did not ask for this. This is just kind of who I am. Next one is, how have your transition goals changed from the start of your transition to today? I would definitely say that one of the first things that comes to mind is my facial hair, and I kind of mentioned that. I really thought that I was going to cut it all off, but I enjoy it quite a bit now. I really think that's the main thing that's shifted. I also wasn't sure if I was going to stay on testosterone for my entire transition, and now I'm pretty confident that I probably am going to stay on testosterone for at least the foreseeable future. I don't really see myself stopping necessarily. Next question is, would you do anything differently if you could restart your transition? That is such a good question. I really think the only thing that I would do differently is, and this is so specific, I would probably move my nipples a little bit further outwards. So I think I was interested in more of like an ambiguous appearance to just my body overall, so I went for more of like a neutral placement in my nipples. They're like right here. It looks a little bit more masculine, and if your nipples are just further out to the side, and I would have really, like now kind of seeing my body in the way that it is, and I think I would have wanted my nipples to be further apart, but that's such a small thing. I'm pretty sure that's probably it. I don't really think that I would do anything else differently, really, that I can think of. Next question is, have there been any pleasant surprises from taking tea, and have there been any unpleasant surprises? So nothing really surprising. Like I said, facial hair is kind of a thing. The way that it's really shifted my body shape is so enjoyable. I really, really love it. Pretty much everything that I anticipated happened the way that it did, which is pretty great. The main terrible thing, and this is kind of the major point that I wanted to make in this video, is shot anxiety. Oh my God. I have a lot of anxiety around needles and stuff. Um, it actually wasn't as bad when I first started tea, but now I notice that I get very, very avoidant during my shot day and sometimes will avoid taking tea for weeks at a time to the point where my cycle will come back. That's a thing that I'm kind of personally working through, really trying to consider if doing gel is the right choice for me, if just kind of, do, because my doctor also did clear me to do my shots every other week. So I do that as often as possible, so I just can do it less often. There are also auto injectors that exist. I haven't tried them. I would like to try them in the future to see if it is better for me mentally, but that sucks. That probably is the worst part of this. Testosterone is great. I wish needles didn't hurt. And the pain isn't even that bad. It's just, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. Sometimes there can be a little bit of discomfort in the spot after, but it just is, the pain is negligible to the amount of anxiety that it produces, which is, it's just a whole frustrating thing. After, the next question is, after having top surgery, do you have any phantom feelings on your chest or feeling like something's missing? Yes. And that is it's a weird sensation. It actually, yeah, it caused actually quite a bit of distress initially. Just the phantom feeling, it really did freak me out in the beginning because I expected it because I read about it, but I didn't expect the way that it would feel, I guess. So sometimes if I, like, for example, I'm like leaning over like this, and if I feel a part of, because I feel sometimes like a part of my chest will touch my stomach, which reminds me of when my larger chest used to do that. So that will cause the feeling. Sometimes just the sensation of my scars will remind me of my chest and sometimes caused emotional distress and stuff like that. A lot of that has settled down now. My chest is way less sensitive. It used to be kind of, I used to feel just like everything, every time I moved, I would feel it, which was so annoying. I'm very glad that has settled down. The other thing about top surgery I want to mention is make sure that you guys massage yourself really often, even for a year or two after surgery, because you can develop nerve-related pain post mastectomy. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself. Prioritize your mobility, take care of your chest, make sure you got good range of motion in your shoulders. That stuff is really, really important, okay? Also, personally, after my surgery was done, my chest looked like, okay, immediately after surgery, the swelling made my pecs appear bigger. But when the swelling went down, my chest felt really, really flat in a way that was really uncomfortable. Like I felt, yeah, it just didn't feel like it looked right. So at first I just whined about it and was really sad about it. But then eventually I just kind of put in the work and specifically would do a ton of chest focused exercises and things like that. Instead of doing like, chest and leg day and back day, did like chest day every day. Probably was a little bit just, had tunnel vision, but it helped quite a bit. Now, I've got some pretty decent muscle going on, which is just much better and helps me feel more comfortable in my body, which is great. The other question is, how do you see yourself in your dreams? Like, are you trans in your dreams? I don't remember my dreams. I have not remembered my dreams in forever. But when I imagine myself, I do see myself like this now. It's very funny. Like I'm wearing a specific, my inner head avatar has like a green shirt, a green button down shirt. It's very specific. Anyway, but yes, I kind of look this way in my dreams, or in my imagination rather. So other people, you may not, and that's fine, right? Looking a certain way in your imagination doesn't really mean anything about your gender, so I don't want people to feel weirded out. Like, if you see yourself in your head as a girl, like, maybe you're not trans. I think as I've developed, even my own inner sense of self has shifted and changed. So I'm like, I might have answered this question differently if you asked me 2 or 3 years ago. I'm really not sure. So next question is, do you ever plan on taking a break from testosterone? I kind of mentioned that already. Not really. Could happen. Not sure. And the last one is, did you experience any changes to your sexuality while on hormones? Not really. I think there were some points where just because your sexual drive has risen or something, that you just kind of are just horny more often, which is kind of awkward, but So that definitely happened a little bit, and I think has also settled down. I also take finasteride, which I think mellows out my libido a little bit. So finasteride is something that I take to help avoid things like hair loss or a receding hairline, as well as can manage the intensity of facial hair, which is kind of interesting. That's just a side bonus, I guess. I was on 5 milligrams of finasteride, which really it wrecked my libido, and now I was moved to 1 milligram, which is not even noticeable, which is awesome. So if you're noticing changes in your body that you don't like, talk to your doctor. Just talk to your doctor, talk to your prescriber, figure it out with them. You don't have to suffer with these questions alone. You know what I'm saying? So that is it in terms of questions and updates and things like that. If you have more questions, please feel free to let me know. I know that it's been a little while since I've made any content over here on YouTube, so I appreciate you taking a second to come and hang out with me. I do a lot of stuff over on TikTok nowadays, so that's where I've been exerting the most of my creative energy has been over there. So I'm Mav Magic everywhere, so that's where I'm at. You can find me. I appreciate you checking in. Have a great day. Peace and love. I'll see you next time.